I'm not running a boiler room operation. I have no phony real estate scam. I'm not taking any kickbacks. I did steal a ring from Woolworths once when I was 12 years old.
Few public figures have lived in the spotlight as intensely as Johnny Carson, a man whose charm and wit made him a television legend. But behind the laughter and late-night jokes, there lurked a love story that only became clear later in his life. A story of searching, loss, and finally, unforgettable devotion. What if I told you that the person Johnny Carson called the love of his life was not his first wife or his most famous partner? Despite walking down the aisle 4 times, it was only his last marriage that truly brought him lasting happiness. Early marriage and rising fame. Johnny Carson's love life began long before he became a TV icon, rooted in his college years at the University of Nebraska. It was there that he met Jody Walcott, a woman who would become his first wife. Their bond was strong enough to lead to marriage on October 1st, 1949, when Johnny was just 24 years old. At that time, he was working as a radio announcer in Omaha, still far from the nationwide stardom he would achieve. As Johnny's career began to take flight, moving from radio to television, the pressures of fame started to weigh heavily on their marriage. Dazzled by the bright lights and growing opportunities, Johnny embraced the demands of his rising public life. However, Jody preferred a quieter existence, finding it difficult to adjust to the relentless media attention and social scrutiny that came with Carson's growing success. This fundamental difference created tension between the couple. While Johnny thrived in front of the camera and public crowds, Jody's preference for privacy made her feel increasingly distant from his world. Their life together became a balancing act between his expanding career and her desire for stability. Over time, that divide grew harder to bridge. Despite these challenges, their marriage lasted for more than a decade, and in that time, they built a family with 3 children. Their home was a rare island of calm amid Johnny's whirlwind career. But the strain of constantly navigating his fame inevitably took a toll. After years of struggle to harmonize their differing lifestyles, the couple began to drift apart. Their separation was gradual, like they both kind of chose discretion over public drama. By 1963, after 14 years of marriage, Johnny and Jody officially divorced. And yes, it was clear enough, even though the romantic part stopped, they still kept a respectful, supportive connection for the rest of their lives. Their shared history and children stayed as that enduring bond, even with the distance between them. Jody stepped away from the spotlight after the divorce, and she leaned into privacy, a quiet existence away from the public eye. She remarried, and she made a conscious effort to avoid the media, which really clashed with Johnny's constant, relentless public presence. That difference basically marked the closing of one of Johnny's earliest and most formative chapters. Meanwhile, Johnny's career just climbed quickly. He became the beloved host of The Tonight Show, captivating millions for more than 3 decades. The lessons from his first marriage stayed under the surface, shaping how he treated love and family going forward. His rising fame brought fresh opportunities, but also brought back renewed challenges in his personal relationships. The children from this marriage, Richard, Christopher, and Corey, remained out of the spotlight because their parents designed it that way. Johnny was fiercely protective of their privacy, ensuring they wouldn't be pulled into the harsh glare that comes with fame. Still, the family suffered deep heartbreak with Corey's sudden death in an automobile accident in 1991. And that loss hit Johnny in a lasting way. The story of Johnny's first marriage lays the foundation for understanding his complicated journey through love and companionship. It was a relationship with early promise, but also those hard adjustments that often show up when success arrives. And yet, it still left open questions about whether true, lasting love might still be ahead of him. Longing for a more supportive and understanding partnership, Johnny eventually sought companionship again, leading him to a second marriage that held fresh hopes. Second marriages, promise, and struggles. Just as Johnny was riding the waves of his expanding fame, he found himself drawn into a new chapter of love with Joanne Carson. They married on August 17, 1963, shortly after his first divorce, and their union brought a renewed sense of companionship. Joanne, a former model and interior decorator, appeared to complement Johnny's wit and charm with her own beauty and grace. Many saw them as a well-matched couple, both in public and private life. Initially, their marriage seemed promising. Joanne stood by Johnny's side as his television career soared, playing the role of a supportive spouse amid the shifting spotlight. She adapted to the demands of his fame with poise, and together they navigated the glamorous yet pressurized world that came with being one of Hollywood's most recognizable couples. However, beneath the surface, the realities of Johnny's high-profile career began to take their toll. The long hours, relentless public scrutiny, and the undeniable allure of show business placed stress on their relationship. As Johnny's star rose, the personal costs became harder to ignore. By 1972, after about 9 years of marriage, Johnny and Joanne kinda ended things. The reasons stayed mostly private. Both of them seemed to prefer handling it with discretion rather than turning it into a public scene. Still, this quiet break left a lot of people wondering what kinds of unseen tensions fame can put on even what look like, on the surface, the most ideal pairings. Joanne pulled back from public life after their separation, and she put most of her attention into personal matters. Johnny, meanwhile, kept standing in the media spotlight. She chose privacy and a deliberate distance from the entertainment world. Her stepping away also felt like another stop in Johnny's ongoing search for lasting love. In a lot of ways, their second marriage showed how hard it can be to balance individual needs while living under the intense pull of celebrity. It made it clear that success and public attention can strain even the strongest bonds, and it can hide emotional hurt behind polished appearances, the kind people are meant to see. This period of Johnny's life also underlined a repeating mix of hope and hardship, because he kept longing for a relationship that could outlast the unstable hold that fame often has. It was, in a sense, a chapter that quietly prepared him for the complicated things still ahead. Even though this union ended, Johnny wasn't finished looking for companionship. Soon, a new relationship would arrive, bringing a different momentum and a whole new set of questions to face. The next marriage would deepen the story of a man searching not just for love, but for stability in an unpredictable world. Glamour and distance in third marriage. Not long after his second marriage dissolved, Johnny Carson entered a new relationship with Joanna Holland, a former model and socialite known for her vivacity and elegance. They married on September 30th, 1972, and this union introduced a renewed sense of sophistication into Johnny's personal life. Joanna's beauty and energy added a glamorous dimension to the relationship that contrasted with the quieter tones of his past marriages. For a decade, Johnny and Joanna navigated life together in the glare of his continued television fame. Their marriage was often portrayed as picture-perfect, attracting public admiration for the couple's poise and apparent harmony. Yet beneath the polished surface, the pressures that accompany celebrity life persisted. The demands on Johnny's time and energy remained intense, and this placed ongoing stress on their bond. Like his previous marriages, balancing personal happiness with professional expectations was a constant struggle. Even as they shared public appearances and social circles, an emotional distance began to emerge. In 1983, after 11 years, Johnny and Joanna kind of split up. The whole story around it stayed private, dealt with in a discreet way, kind of like the endings of his two earlier marriages. Both of them seemed to decide keeping their personal troubles out of the public eye, which helped preserve dignity even as the circumstances kept changing. After they separated, Joanna also went for a more secluded sort of life, easing herself away from the spotlight so she could concentrate on her own direction. At the same time, Johnny kept doing what he was known for. He was still America's cherished late-night host. Yet the ups and downs of his dating life suggested there was something else he wanted, something beyond the reach of fame. This union showed again how complicated it is to love a man whose whole world is mostly on display. The sparkle, the glamour, it all came with a price, building walls that made real closeness and steady footing harder to reach. For Johnny, it fit into that repeating rhythm of relationships that include connection, but also an unspoken distance. Even with how successful that chapter looked from the outside, it left a question hanging there. Could Johnny Carson ever land a love that would truly last? The response, it would arrive later, in a calmer place, in a way nobody really expected. His next marriage would break the old trends, and it would show a bond far sturdier than anything that came before. Love often arrives in the most surprising moments, reshaping life in ways fame never could. Unexpected, lasting love. After years marked by ups and downs in love, Johnny Carson found something extraordinary when he met Alexis Maas. Their relationship blossomed quickly and deeply, leading to marriage on June 20th, 1987. Unlike his previous unions, this marriage was characterized by a genuine connection and emotional closeness that few who knew Carson had witnessed before. Alexis, a former stockbroker, brought a calm and steady presence that softened the turbulence of Johnny's earlier romantic chapters. Alexis was no stranger to a life of prominence. Coming from a wealthy family and known as a socialite and heiress, she was accustomed to the spotlight in a different context than Johnny's show business fame. Despite their differing backgrounds, their bond was built on mutual respect and sincere affection, a foundation that proved to be remarkably strong. Those who saw them together often noted the laughter and genuine warmth they shared. Their marriage endured the passage of time with an intimacy that Johnny had long sought. Through good days and challenging ones, Alexis remained at his side, unwavering in her support. Their companionship brought a sense of balance to Carson's life as he navigated the pressures of retirement and personal health struggles. It was a partnership that faced the inevitable challenges of aging, but always with a joint spirit. What made this relationship distinct was not just longevity, but the depth of care and companionship Alexis provided. She was not simply a spouse, but a confidant who understood the complexities of Johnny's character and career. This was love grounded in shared experience and quiet devotion, far removed from the glamour and distance of his earlier marriages. This marriage gave Johnny something rare, a sanctuary from the relentless glare of fame. Alexis respected his desire for privacy during his retirement and gently shielded him from the outside world's demands. Their life together was one of seclusion, laughter, and mutual respect, a stark contrast to the public spectacle that had dominated so much of Johnny's life. As Johnny faced his declining health in later years, Alexis became like an indispensable kind of pillar of support for him. Her job just kept shifting into caregiver, protector, and an unwavering companion, especially when he wrestled with emphysema and lung cancer. She made sure he got the best possible care and kept championing his well-being with steadfast determination, even when things felt hard to name or even harder to face. Johnny once referred to Alexis as the love of his life, and honestly, it sounded like more than a line. It was a sign of how deep their connection really ran, not the usual kind you see in public. That feeling showed up in the quiet moments they shared, away from cameras, away from crowd noise, and away from anything that demanded performance. For the first time, Johnny's heart seemed genuinely settled, anchored by a love that went beyond status or fame. Like, it didn't care what people said. Their bond endured right up until Johnny's passing on January 23, 2005. After that, Alexis kept honoring his memory and legacy with dignity and devotion too. She stayed mostly out of sight. Still, her influence and affection were easy to feel through the ways she tried to preserve his life's work and keep his spirit close among fans and family alike. This part of Johnny Carson's life shows that love can show up in a strange, almost sideways way, yet still manage to change everything. It also reminds you that real happiness sometimes arrives later than we expect, shaped by shared loyalty and quiet courage, not just by public applause. Alexis's unwavering support during Johnny's twilight years speaks volumes about the strength of their partnership, a story made all the more poignant as his health waned. Alexis Moss's role and support. When illness crept into Johnny Carson's later years, Alexis Moss became much more than a spouse. She was his rock in a storm. As Johnny battled emphysema and eventually lung cancer, Alexis took on the critical role of his primary caregiver. Her devotion went beyond duty. It was a profound expression of love and commitment that defined their final years together. Alexis's presence allowed Johnny to retreat from the public eye on his own terms. Understanding his desire for privacy, she shielded him from intrusive attention and helped create a peaceful environment where he could focus on healing and comfort. This protective care was essential for Johnny as his health steadily declined. Despite the challenges of caregiving, Alexis remained steadfast, often seen accompanying Johnny to events, always offering support and strength. Those close to them witnessed a partnership marked by deep respect and tenderness. Even as Johnny's energy faded, their connection seemed to grow stronger against the odds. Her role went well past simple physical care, like it's, more or less, way beyond the obvious. Alexis gave him emotional steadiness too, helping Johnny push through the irritations and worried thoughts that often show up with a debilitating illness. Her constant, unbending presence made the hard stretch feel a little less sharp, and somehow it reminded him he wasn't alone, not even in those ugliest, most tender moments. During all of this, Alexis showed a kind of resilience and grace that felt almost quiet, but unshakable. She somehow kept up the caregiving demands while also protecting Johnny's legacy and the family bonds around it, so he stayed surrounded by love and dignity. You could tell, not only from the people who knew them, but from the whole atmosphere of calm she seemed to create during his final years. Her dedication also meant handling the practical side of Johnny's health needs, coordinating with medical professionals, and advocating for the best care he could receive. That relentless effort was, in its own way, proof of the deep connection they shared, a bond grounded in trust and mutual respect. Even after Johnny passed away, Alexis still honored him with the same kind of devotion, taking an active part in safeguarding his legacy and supporting charitable efforts connected to his name. Her philanthropic giving, including large donations to the Johnny Carson Foundation, made it clear her affection reached past personal care and into an influence that keeps going. This whole story reminds you that real love doesn't always need fireworks or grand performances. It often shows up in daily gestures, in kindness offered again and again, in patience that doesn't quit, in perseverance even when things feel heavy. Alexis's steady support while Johnny declined showed how powerful a partnership can be when life gets at its hardest. In the end, this commitment shifted the last chapter of Johnny Carson's life, turning it into something shaped by companionship, respect, and enduring love. Their story shows how love can become a lifeline, giving strength when hope seems fragile. Privacy and protection of family. Throughout his life and career, Johnny Carson was fiercely protective of his family's privacy, especially regarding his children. Despite his own life being played out in front of millions on television, he made it a priority to shield his sons from the intense glare of public scrutiny. He understood the cost that fame could bring and strove to keep his children's lives as normal and private as possible. This protective instinct shaped many of his decisions about relationships and family life. His three sons from his first marriage, Richard, Christopher, and Corey, were raised largely out of the spotlight. Richard, born in 1950, chose a quiet path as an accomplished jazz musician, avoiding public attention. His brother Christopher followed a similar trajectory, working behind the scenes in television production rather than seeking the limelight. Corey's tragic death in 1991 marked a painful moment the media barely breached, thanks to Johnny's careful shielding of his family's grief. Johnny went to great lengths to maintain this boundary, often resisting pressures from the media and fans for access to his children's lives. He recognized the challenges of balancing public adoration with private well-being. This vigilance was a recurring theme throughout Johnny's personal story, reflecting his desire for emotional security amid his celebrity. The marriages Johnny entered into also reflected this careful approach to family privacy. While his wives moved through the public eye with him, Johnny consistently prioritized protecting their shared children from becoming tabloid fodder. He believed love and support could flourish best without the added complications of fame's spotlight. This principle sometimes created tensions, but was a line he refused to cross. Even as Johnny's health began to decline, the privacy of his family remained paramount. Not negotiable, sort of thing. Alexis Maas, his final wife, respected and upheld those boundaries too, like she understood the precious nature of the sanctuary Johnny had long tried to protect in the first place. Their shared effort made sure his children and closest relatives were kept away from unwanted attention, especially during difficult times when things already felt too fragile. That protection wasn't just about privacy alone. It was a kind of respect and also love, more practical than people might think. Johnny's awareness of fame's perils wasn't theoretical either. He had actually seen how it damaged other lives, and he wanted a different kind of legacy for his own family. By shielding them, he hoped to give them a chance at something rooted and calm, even while he was living as a legend before millions, still in full view. This whole dedication to family privacy paints a more complicated picture of Johnny Carson. It shows a man who tried to balance public life with deep personal values. The quick pull of stardom never really outweighed what he felt for his children's well-being. So, in a way, his love was fierce, but also considerate, measured. Plenty of people remember Johnny for his wit and humor, but this quieter side reveals something else. A protector, determined to preserve a haven for those he cared about most. It's kind of a statement about his character beyond the spotlight, and it quietly points to the sacrifices that sit behind his laughter. In the end, Johnny's commitment to his family's privacy set a tone for how he lived and loved. He chose discretion over spectacle and kept safeguarding what mattered most, even while fame kept staring back with that harsh glare. Alexis's philanthropic efforts extended that legacy beyond family boundaries, reaching the wider world through acts of generosity and respect. Legacy through devotion. Alexis Maas's dedication to Johnny Carson's legacy took many forms, extending well beyond their personal relationship. Following Johnny's death in 2005, she became a vital custodian of his memory, ensuring that his contributions to television and philanthropy continued to be honored. Though she preferred a private life, her actions spoke loudly about her commitment to the man she called the love of her life. One of her most notable contributions was her significant philanthropy through the Johnny Carson Foundation. Alexis donated nearly $156 million, a remarkable sum that continued to promote and expand Johnny's charitable vision. This generosity reflected not only her own values, but also the profound influence Johnny had on her outlook and commitments. Her philanthropic work helped fund initiatives in education, the arts, and health, areas that Johnny had cared deeply about during his lifetime. By steering resources toward these causes, Alexis ensured that Johnny's name remained associated with positive change, extending his impact far beyond the entertainment world. This legacy building was a quiet yet powerful testament to their shared dedication. Alexis's background as a socialite and heiress also shaped her philanthropic approach. Coming from considerable wealth, she was accustomed to giving back and viewed these contributions as a natural continuation of both her personal and their collective legacy. Importantly, there were no claims that her relationship with Johnny was motivated by money. Rather, their love was grounded in sincerity and mutual respect. Her role in managing the foundation showed a deep respect for Johnny's wishes, and also this sense of importance around legacy, like more than just a phrase. Through careful stewardship, she kept things relevant and effective, really preserving the goodwill Johnny had built over his lifetime, even when nobody was watching. That stewardship kind of added a new dimension to how they were connected, intertwining love, respect, and shared purpose in a way that felt almost steady. Alexis's generosity also drew admiration from people who knew the couple, not just because it was nice, but because it hinted that their bond reached further. It moved beyond private affection to influence broader societal good. You could say it showed that love, when it's genuine, can spark acts of kindness that ripple far outside personal circles, and that's a bit rare. So their story ends up blending romance with philanthropy and leaving a lasting footprint behind, not loud, just sure. Her efforts helped keep Johnny's memory lively for fans and future generations, bridging the space between the man people saw on television and the person who actually mattered to those close to him. Alexis's dedication ensured that Johnny's history wasn't only remembered, but celebrated, like a force for good that continued moving. In a way, their partnership redefined what it means to share a life, not only by companionship and care, but also by building a legacy that benefits others. Alexis's devotion turned love into something longer-lasting, a durable influence, a strong example of commitment that carries beyond the personal. And overall, their story is a reminder that legacy is often shaped quietly, through acts of loyalty and generosity that echo the depth of one's love and respect. With that enduring legacy secured, the final reflection lies in the genuine love Johnny found away from the spotlight, a love that outshone fortune and fame alike. Love beyond fame and fortune. Johnny Carson's public persona was that of a quick-witted, charismatic entertainer who seemed to have it all: fame, fortune, and adoration from millions. Yet, behind the on-screen charm, there was a more private, genuine side to his life that few understood. It was in his final marriage to Alexis Maas where the true depth of his heart was revealed, far removed from the spotlight and public spectacle. Alexis came from a life of privilege and social standing, long before meeting Johnny. She was an heiress and socialite, accustomed to wealth on a scale that rivaled Carson's own success. Their relationship was never about money or status, a fact clear to those who knew them. Instead, it was built on mutual understanding, respect, and a rare personal connection that flourished away from public eyes. While Johnny's earlier marriages were marked by glamour, complexity, and at times distance, his bond with Alexis was one of closeness and unwavering support. She provided a steady presence in his later years, especially as his health declined. Their time together was characterized by quiet companionship, laughter, and a shared desire for privacy that allowed their love to deepen without distraction. In facing emphysema and lung cancer, Johnny's vulnerability emerged, yet Alexis stayed steadfastly by his side. Her devotion transformed from that of a loving spouse into a caregiver and protector, roles she embraced with grace and determination. She shielded him from the intrusive nature of fame, allowing him to live out his final years with dignity and comfort. Their partnership wasn't really defined by any flashy extravagance, more like a run of small acts of kindness and loyalty, kind of quietly done. This private sanctuary was a hideout from the nonstop pace and glare of Carson's celebrity, and somehow it shows that true love often grows in the intimacy part, not in the big spectacle. It was a love that had trust at its core, and real affection, the kind Johnny famously framed as the love of his life, like he couldn't really separate it from everything else. Even after Johnny died in 2005, Alexis kept honoring him with real humility and devotion. Her major charitable giving, including nearly $156 million donated to the Johnny Carson Foundation, really seemed to show that what she felt didn't just live in personal memory. It moved outward into lasting impact, and also a steady sort of generosity. She made sure his name wasn't only linked to entertainment, but to goodwill too, the sort of people carry forward. This gap between Johnny's lively public persona and his more private romantic place, it really seems to show something strong. Fame and fortune can't substitute for genuine human togetherness. His deepest happiness came not from millions of eyes or applause, but from the steady support and love he shared with one special woman. The one person who kept him grounded, while everything else got louder. Their story kinda nudges us to remember that behind every legend, there's a real human craving for companionship that actually means something. Johnny's final marriage feels like proof that love can endure past the glamour and past time itself, showing that even the brightest stars still need someone to steady them when the spotlight starts to fade more or less. And in the end, maybe Johnny Carson's greatest legacy isn't just the laughter or the television career people can immediately name. It might be the sincere affection he found in Alexis Moss, that love which genuinely outshines fame and fortune. Johnny Carson's journey through love teaches us that true connection often comes when least expected, beyond the glitter of fame. His story reminds us to value loyalty, devotion, and the quiet moments that define a life well-loved. If you enjoyed uncovering this heartfelt story, please like and subscribe for more inspiring tales.